What's up, Metaverse? This is Troy-Jeffery Allen with PreviewsWorld.com here for Metaverse Live. And I'm hanging out with the AWA crew. I wanted to say hi to Axel Alonso and Christa Faust and Mike Deodato Jr. How you guys doing?
I'm great.
Holding it down. Holding it down.
Holding it down. That's all we ask for, is just hold it down, man. So where's everybody hailing from? Like, we're doing this, of course, on video conference. Where's everybody coming from?
Los Angeles.
Okay, nice. What about you, Mike?
Brazil.
Brazil, nice. What about you, Axel?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, all right, nice. We got a nice spread here. I'm coming from Maryland. Not as sexy as those other three places, but it still works, I think.
I got family in Baltimore.
Okay, there you go. We'll take it. I love it. So I got to point out, Peter Milligan was going to join us, but he had some other obligations he had to make happen. But it's cool because we're here with Christa Faust, we're here with Axel Alonso, we're here with Mike Deodato Jr. We're gonna have some fun talking about AWA. So first of all, been reading a lot about AWA. Been reading about you guys' initiatives, of course, your lineup, the formation of a bunch of creators and whatnot. And I want to know, like, one of the things I read early on was about you guys are trying to push boundaries. And I'm gonna throw this over to you, Axel, first, and also Christa, Mike, feel free to chime in, whatever. But what does it mean to push boundaries for AWA? What are you guys trying to push exactly?
I'd say simply that comic books are only as limited as the talent and the tastes of the people making them and the publishers that support them making them.
Nice.
There's nothing you can't do in this medium. Nothing you can't do. It's about much more than superheroes. You know, it's about taking genres, expanding on them, building on them, and there's no rules. So for us, it's about having a diversity of content and approach.
Nice. No, I love that, because I got to talk to Garth Ennis back in November. I did an interview with him, and he was talking about you can do anything in comics. And I love when publishers actually fully embrace that. So one of the books that is pushing the boundaries right now is Bad Mother. It just so happens that we had Christa Faust, and Mike Deodato Jr. here, the artist. And so I wanted you guys to tell us a little bit about Bad Mother. What is so bad about this mother exactly?
Christa, take it away.
Well, I think that it's not so much that she's bad. I think that what I fell in love with when this idea was proposed to me was the idea of a person who isn't a badass, or at least not in the standard cliched, 98-pound hot girl who can kick a 200-pound guy through a wall. I wanted something that sort of showcased the kinds of strength that real women have, the strength that it takes to, raise a family and wrangle children and live in this crazy world that we're all just trying to get by in. And I really wanted to kind of show that female power doesn't have to ape masculine tropes in order to be strong.
No, I love that, because you see a lot of that in entertainment in general. So to kind of like pinpoint exactly how different a female protagonist is to a male protagonist is actually really important. Actually, how did you guys get involved with this project? Christa, did you come to Mike, or did like AWA come to you with the project? How did this project come about?
Axel and I have been friends for some time, and we just are like ships in the night. We kept wanting to do something together, but just, circumstances never, the start.
Oral history. I'm a big fan of Christa's books, a big fan of Christa's crime books. I love the perspective, the voice. I loved her characters. I love the fact that she just had a unique voice, and she made characters I really cared about. So I had this idea in my head of doing a comic book in which you had a soccer mom end up harnessing her inner Punisher. I had an image in my head of a woman in a sensible suburban kitchen with a machine gun. I called Christa and I said, listen, how about we do a book about this kind of hero? And then she said, I'm into that. That's a hero you don't see. And then she came up with the idea of the story of a woman, April Walters, whose daughter is abducted, and April has to find a way to find and rescue her daughter, and to do so in a way where she's not drawing upon, military training or superpowers or anything like that. She's just a normal housewife who has to figure out a way to somehow beat this crime syndicate to get her daughter back. And then Christa owned it from there. And then we were talking about artists for a while, and Mike Deodato did a tweet where he said he was going to go do creator owned. So I swept on it and said, hey, Mike, guess what? So I sent him Bad Mother, and I was very nervous. But I thought Mike is a smart guy. He'll connect with this. He read it and he said, oh, I love this. I've got to do it. I was like, there, we've got a team now.
I love that. I love that. And so what is your dynamic, Christa, with Mike? Like, Mike, and this is also to you, Mike. What is your dynamic together creatively? How do you guys work?
First of all, I apologize for showing my pussy during an important meeting like this. I know it's offensive, so apologies for
Breaking
that.
boundaries
Mike,
already.
you want to take that, Mike?
Yeah, Mike, what is your dynamic with Christa?
I'm sorry, could you repeat, please?
Yeah, what is your dynamic with Christa? Like, how do you guys work together to make this project come about?
Okay, well, I confess I never heard of Christa before, but I became a fan after I read the script that Axel sent me, and especially by the ending that I cannot tell, but the conversation between the mom and the daughter in the ending, it was, oh my God, I was sold with that conversation. And after that, I went after her books, and of course, I became a fan like everybody else. Actually, we, as most of my collaborators, we don't interact much about what each other is doing. I think because I'm old and I'm experienced, so I usually get what they want me to what they want to see in the pages. So it's only small corrections. Oh, I was thinking about this, and then I go there and correct. But usually it's like we have worked for a long time. That's the only benefit of being old like me, I guess.
Come on, that's not the only benefit. I think there's a couple of others also. You know, I mean, we're experienced, and I feel like we really meshed as a team. You know, we kind of had the same vision, you know, and I mean, I am the first person to admit that I'm not experienced in the world of comics. So I was kind of like, you know, I'm the mouthy rookie, you know, and I'm dealing with, like, you know, the crafty veteran.
You cannot tell. You cannot tell.
Where Christa and I connected immediately on this was the idea that we connected immediately. Is this is not Charlize Theron is not this character. This is not, our lead character is not Charlize Theron looking ugly. Right. This is a very normal woman, a very normal woman. She's had 2 children. You know, she doesn't go to the gym every day. You know, she has no superpowers, no martial arts training, nothing. She's just a woman who's living in suburbia, unappreciated for the most part, and invisible. And it turns out that's a superpower. Because the one thing is, everyone underestimates this woman. Everyone underestimates this woman, and she knows that. That is her best armor. Is no one sees her coming.
Yeah, I think that, you know, the joke that I like to make is that if April can organize a birthday party for a dozen 8-year-olds, well, all with dietary restrictions and different things, you know, she does have skills. She doesn't have skills that are traditionally valued in this society, you know, and I think that this title says a lot about the unpaid emotional labor that women contribute that allow guys to go out and fly around in a cape and fight crime because somebody's washing that cape back home.
What's cool too is very early on, Christa was like, there ain't no men around. The husband is away on business. The boy is away at camp. And the daughter, Christa, was adamant about this. She's not going to be some damsel in distress. She is going to be, she's going to play a role in her own freedom.
Yes.
And
because I really didn't want that sort of Princess Peach style trophy where, you know, the woman, the victim exists only to inspire other people to be badasses. But no, this daughter character, she is also finding her own inner badass.
And you see how she's her mother's daughter. At the end of Taken, Liam Neeson sees his daughter and she's like, Daddy, 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 Daddy. It's demeaning. It's demeaning. Our daughter does not. Taylor does not do that. Taylor is a badass.
Is she,
No.
is she a chip off the old block? Is that how this is working?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that another thing that I'm trying to say here is that the sort of lone wolf archetype is a very masculine archetype, and women collaborate, they cooperate, they work together, you know. And I wanted to show again different kinds of unexpected kinds of strength, you know, that are equally dangerous if they're applied in a certain situation, like, for example, the story that we told in Bad Mother.
Well, right, like you mentioned Liam Neeson, like he has a certain set of skills. Well, it seems like your character definitely has a certain set of skills. That's perfect. You mentioned earlier that you're not used to writing comics. Like, how was that process for you? Like, where was the learning curve? Like, was there anything particular that just jumped out at you? Was like, well, this is different.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, I was basically, I had a previous comic project that I did that was a semi-autobiographical story about my experience working in the peep booths in Times Square in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And that was my first ever, I mean, like I had no idea what I was doing at all, you know, but I had a great crew with me. And that's really having people that you can lean on who fill in your blanks and help you to understand things and teach you along the way. That's been tremendous. The biggest thing for me, the hardest thing, was dialogue, you know, because I'm a real minor bird. I love the way people talk. I love dialogue, but it's limited, and you can't just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. You have to be short. Everything has to be succinct and to the point, you know, and you don't really have a lot of room for extraneous chit chat. You know, it's very haiku-like. So condense, 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 as opposed to fiction where you can really spread out and like you're in somebody's mind, you know what they're thinking. And not so with comics.
Right, absolutely. And like, yeah, I appreciate that because like, I think a lot of people will just jump in both feet first and just assume that it's like any other format, but it really isn't. So that really shows. I love that.
Well, so many hard choices in making comic books, so many hard choices. You have to leave stuff on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
And it's all hard boiled. Yeah. But the thing is, what really works so well about Christa's stories, the dialogue is amazing. The characters are fully realized. All of them. April, her nemesis, the woman you're about to meet in issue 2, is amazing as well because she's a Joker to April's Batman. You know, you want to say a bit about her, Christa?
I'm sorry?
You want to say a little bit about the villain?
Oh, about Ava.
Yeah, about Ava.
Yes, absolutely. Well, again, this was an idea of like this kind of epic battle of two mothers, you know, and that motherhood can be nurturing, but it can also be very toxic, you know, and very controlling and very, you know, frightening. And so we wanted to kind of set up these two archetypal mothers to kind of have this big, like, you know, Ripley versus the Alien Queen smackdown, you know, at the end. And I think that, you know, Ava is a much more, she's much more selfish. She's more narcissistic. Her children are an extension of her. Her relationship with her boys is not entirely normal in a lot of ways and maybe inappropriate, you know, and she's a very dark character in the same way that April is very light.
And she's everything April isn't.
Yeah.
You should look at April, like April's like a gum on her shoe, you know?
Yeah. Well, she's
no respect for her.
You know, and she's fit, she's gorgeous, you know, she's a tiger. She's a tiger mom, and she's a crime boss. So, you know, she has all those masculine skills that April lacks.
Okay, awesome. I love that. Axel, I'm actually going to put you in the hot seat real quick. So AWA is like the umbrella that Upshot falls under, but I wanted to ask you more about the distinction between the two. Like, what is Upshot and what is AWA, and how do those
AWA is the larger corporation, which will house a number of different studios, of which AWA is one. Okay. So we want to have a variety of different studios to produce a variety of different types of content in comic book form and other forms as well. So as we diversify, you'll see more imprints coming out. We Bill Jemas debuted some hints of his iPop imprint recently, which is very different from what Upshot's about. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, it's like Upshot is the core comic book company. It's the core business. And Bad Mother is one of the first titles, the first wave of titles we're doing.
Now, is Bad Mother going to be part of this shared universe that you guys have been talking a bit about in like different interviews?
There's no plans for Bad Mother to be a part of the shared universe, but never say never. You know what I mean? I gotta say, there's a point at which I would love to see how April Walters fared in the zombie apocalypse of year 0. How would she fare? You know, I gotta say, it'd be fun, you know?
Absolutely. I'm up for it.
The dead are walk. What does April do? What does April do, you know? So yeah, the good news is we can do what we want. Not every book we do is part of the shared universe, but anything can be. Many things you'll see immediately how they connect. Other books, it won't be immediately clear how they connect, but it will come clear over time. There'll be Easter eggs, clues, and you'll see them where you want.
Cool. So you're the chief creative officer, Axel. Like, and I've read a bit about the creative council that makes up AWA or Upshot specifically. Like, how does that work? Like, what is the creative council's role in all this?
Well, the creative council are 5 creators, all have a footprint in comic books and other media, a big footprint in comic books and other media. J. Michael Straczynski, Reginald Hudlin, Frank Cho, Garth Ennis, and Margaret Stoll. Nice. All 5 of them have a big footprint in comic books, but also in movies, TV, you name it, novels, YA, and gaming. They're all there to help build the shared universe and to be a part of our first couple of years of publishing. So the big people who have a deep knowledge of comic books, but also are able to give us feedback on scripts and stuff like that. You know, so it's a good people to have in your corner.
And so the plan is to do a bunch of limited series. Is there no plan for an ongoing along with this?
Limited series, yeah, limited series. But the thing is that limited series are best looked at as being a first season. So year 0 is the series that just debuted. 3 issues are out. The first season is 5 issues. Mm-hmm. Season 2 was already written and halfway drawn. We're going to announce it very soon. So the thing is, we're going to have more than one season. The Resistance lays down the bedrock for the shared universe. That's 6 issues. Mm-hmm. Resistance Volume 1 is written and drawn. Volume 2 is already underway. It's written and halfway drawn. We did a thing called Reborns as a webtoon, and we have a thing called Moss coming out. And we have 3 books already formally spinning out of the Resistance by other creators. So the plan is that we build everything as a franchise. You can return to those characters if you want to. So let's say April Walters, you know, who knows what could happen down the road, you know? I mean, could be that someone's going to grape with April. There's another problem. Someone else kidnaps her daughter. We'll figure it out. If you guys want more, we'll do more.
Awesome. My internet was acting wonky for a second. I think I'm okay now. No. Hey, Mike, so I got a question for you. You've been with Marvel for a long time, man. Like, what is it like cutting loose over at AWA? Like, they talk about no boundaries. Has that been fun for you?
Oh, yeah. Actually, Axel was my boss there, and he's my boss now, so nothing changed. No, it's all fun, man. I love superheroes, and I drew them my whole life, and but they weren't mine. And now I'm working with characters that are mine and of my collaborators, and it's fantastic. It's a whole new feelings. I feel like I'm starting out, and working with Axel, it's amazing. It's one of my best friends in the business. He's a genius. Okay, I want to raise Axel, and he put me together with. This is fantastic, man. It's like we fit perfectly. Her way of writing suspense, and it's like it. I'm loving it. It's fantastic.
All right, cool.
The chemistry
is there a particular moment
is amazing.
No, absolutely. Like I will, as a fan, I'll co-sign that. Mike Deodato is amazing. Absolutely. So is there a particular moment from Bad Mother, then this goes to you too, Christa, that like stands out without giving any spoilers? It was just one thing you're like, I love this. This is the moment that it all came together. This is awesome.
It is hard not to, I mean, I don't want to give anything away.
Mhm. Where I like best is that you were able to put, even in the most tense moments, you were able to remind us that the connection between the mother and the daughter. It was great for me. I was not paying attention for this, and then you choose that moment to remind us, okay, they have this connection. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I cannot tell which scene is.
All I can say is that this series really sticks the landing. When you read it, you see how carefully plotted it was and how there's clues throughout the whole issue, every issue, as to how April is going to be able to win. How the hell is she going to win? How could she possibly win? There's clues everywhere to be found. You'll see how it happens. But I think one of the things that really was big for me in the book is, without giving anything away, there are some explosive moments in the book, but there's a fight scene in the book that is the most brutal and real fight scene I've ever edited in comics. It's absolutely harrowing. It's harrowing. There's nothing fun or whimsical about it. It's desperate. It's desperate, brutal, and it's a moment when I just I feel like my heart is ripped out because you care so much for April, what she's put through in the moment. It's amazing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a Die Hard moment. You know, in a way, it's a Die Hard moment that you don't normally see women go through because, you know, I mean, I'm an MMA fan as well, and I remember when we first started to see big name women coming into, you know, like for example in the UFC, there was a lot of scuttlebutt about like, is anybody really going to want to see a woman get punched in the face? Like nobody wants to see a pretty girl get punched in the face. Well, my argument is that power of endurance, that sort of John McClane, you know, Die Hard, like throw everything but the kitchen sink at this guy and he keeps coming. You know, I feel like that is something that is very relatable to women, you know, because that is our lives. That's what we go through. You throw everything at us, we keep coming. You know, we don't fold, you know, because we have that inner core strength. And that was a really interesting thing to me, to be able to write a scene where a woman with no training, no special skills, not particularly strong, has to go up against somebody who does have all those skills. But how do you make that fight real? How do you make that fight something that might actually happen that way? That was the key. And that was a lot of fun. You know, I think the other thing that I wanted to kind of just give a call out in this series that I loved was I love the small facial expressions, because this is a small story. We have big action sequences, but it's still at its heart, it's a small story. It's small stakes, it's individuals, it's people's feelings. And having that intimate close-up micro expressions in people's faces, like that's what really made it real to me. And so I got to give a shout out to Deodato for that.
Awesome. No, I love that. That was actually still my next question. I was going to ask you if there were any film inspirations or martial arts inspirations for the story, but you have seen Die Hard.
Well, I mean, that's just an off the cuff example. I can't say that I really necessarily pulled from it, but I mean, I do love action movies, and I tend to prefer smart ass guy who gets his ass kicked to Terminator, I will destroy you. You know, like that's less appealing to me. And we have a lot of Terminator, I will destroy you women in comics. But what we don't have is that sort of smart ass, like, oh, shit, now I'm going to have to fight this guy. Great. You know, we don't have that. So yeah, maybe that was a little unconscious reference, maybe.
No, I think any reference to Die Hard is always unconscious. It's just there, you know. So I respect.
Well, it wasn't set during Christmas. It's not Christmas, so.
Right. So
actually, for me, it's anything suburban noir. Anything you view as being rural or suburban noir.
Yes.
Any fiction, movies like Brick, like Brick, Breaking Bad.
To go back to James M. Cain.
James M. Cain, number one, yeah.
Or Mildred Pierce. Great example.
Okay. I love that.
The dark stuff that's under the veneer of the normal community.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. No, that's awesome. I love that. So, Axel, how does this tap into the zeitgeist? Because one of the things I constantly see and the talking points for AWA is that like it is relating to things that are happening in the real world. So how does this work? This also goes to you, of course, Christa. Like, how do you feel this relates to the real world? Or taps into the zeitgeist more specifically?
Well, I think for one thing, people are more interested in women's stories, and they're interested in not just strong female characters that mimic like a sort of a male gaze, sexy superhero, but like actual real women. And I do think more and more these days we're seeing, you know, I mean, just to give like just a handful of examples, like Viola Davis, you know, in Widows. I mean, like there are these older women that are becoming protagonists. They're not somebody's mom. I mean, in this case, it's literally somebody's mom, but they're not a side character. They're not somebody that is, you know, peripheral to the hero, you know, or just, why can't you leave this case alone? And then they leave. You know, it's like, no, this is the hero. This person is the hero. And like, I mean, you know, there are even some of the Korean films, you know, like Mother, you know, have there is definitely, I think, a hunger. And I mean, it's not just because I myself, you know, I'm an older woman, but, you know, hey, menopause noir, let's make it a thing.
Okay.
I'm not an older woman. I'm not an older woman, but I felt there was a need for this kind of hero.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really glad I called Christa about it based on her book, because she nailed it. We needed this kind of hero. Someone with that silhouette, the mom genes, you understand? The mom body.
Right.
I'm sick and tired of seeing Charlize Theron kick ass. It's called Johansson kick ass. It's like, it's old past a point, you know?
Right. So what about you, Axel? I mean, how else does it tap into the zeitgeist for you personally? Or I guess actually I should just ask the larger AWA mold, like how does it tap into the zeitgeist? Like what are you guys targeting specifically?
Well, I think the target for the first thing about every AWA book is I want to come up with a concept that grabs your attention and makes you smile, makes you think, makes you want to know more, and then deliver on that, the promise of that concept. Elevated genre work, you know?
Right.
By that I mean, okay, Get Out was a horror movie, right? Get Out was a horror movie, but it was more than a horror movie. You went to see a horror movie, you saw a horror movie, but what you also saw was a movie that deconstructed the scars of slavery, racism, and the fetishization of Black culture by white people. All of that was in that movie. So you were thoroughly entertained by a horror movie, but it had more meat on the bone. Ditto with Hereditary. Hereditary was a scary-ass movie, but it was also about the family, the scars you inherit from your parents, the legacies of the family, dysfunction, all of that factored in the movie. So it was about more than just a crazy cult. So I want to make sure our books have substance. Bad Mother does, you know, and that's the goal. For me, that's zeitgeist, being aware of what people care about, are thinking about. We have a president in the White House right now who's anything but a bastion of moral virtue. You know, his treatment of women goes without saying. You know, you got the Me Too movement, a lot going on. You have a resurgence of female characters in comic books, right? A little bit here and there. You have female action heroes, but you don't have anyone like April Walters.
Well, this is true. And I also think that, you know, I mean, a lot of these things are accidental, these resonances and these echoes in pop culture. But I mean, just to invoke, like, for example, the Wall of Moms, you know, the Wall of Moms, you know, that's they've had it. They're fed up, you know, and April Walters is a mother who's fed up. You know, she's fed up of having to just accept the way things are, you know, and she wants to change. So in a way, I think we're just like a big antenna and we're just pulling in all this information from all around us, this cultural moment that we're in, and it's just being expressed, you know, through our own form of creativity.
So Mike, actually I have a question for you. Like the story, you're from Brazil. The story takes place in like an American suburb. How do you go about depicting these things? Like what kind of reference material did you use, or did you use any reference material at all?
Well, I watch a lot of series. So in Brazil, we absorbed a lot of American culture via comics and movies. So It's familiar for me too, so it was not a problem.
Did Christa force you to look at like different, I don't know, different guns or anything like that?
Oh, that would not be me doing that. I would force you to look at like photos of the interior of Walmart. The guns, that's somebody else's job.
That's somebody else's job. Okay, that's all on Mike, I see. So what else? So what else can people expect from Bad Mother in like the near future? Like, are you guys even thinking about doing a follow-up, or is this a finite ending? Is it something that maybe possibly, because I know the trade paperback's coming up, like the plan is always to do a limited series and drop a trade paperback, but is there an idea for a sequel anywhere floating around? See how it goes?
You gotta ask the boss.
Right, find out.
I'm always down. I'm always down. I mean,
plan to keep working with Christa, but I cannot see.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that the story's not over until you decide it's over, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So Axel, what else can people expect from AWA? What's coming down the pipeline that people should keep their eye on?
Next month you have a book called Grendel, Kentucky, by Jeff McCompsey and Tommy Lee Edwards. Another fun book. We're doing the story of Beowulf, set at the Grindhouse flick from the 70s.
Oh, nice.
Our Beowulf is a leader of an all-female biker gang who has to come home to the town she grew up in to deal with a monster that lives in the mine that may have killed her father. She has to go back and dig up her history that she doesn't want to examine and face the monster from her past that does exist. So it's a Grindhouse horror flick.
Wow.
Prophecy.
It takes Grendel and Beowulf and twists it.
Awesome.
After that, we've got American Ronin by Peter Milligan and ACO, visionary artist, and it's essentially, imagine James Bond with minor superpowers. It's a future world in which corporations call all the shots. Imagine that.
No, imagine that. Wow.
Imagine that. These pan-national corporations call all the shots, and the way that they wage war with one another is through supremely trained and genetically enhanced agents. Wage war for them.
Okay.
The American Ronin, our title character, is one of these agents who one day breaks free of his mental chains and decides, fuck it, I'm gonna bring the whole thing down. He goes to war with the whole system. So it's an amazing story. You see some art there. These guys are like James Bond with minor superpowers. And they would mop the floor with James Bond or John Wick. Everything April Walters isn't.
I love it.
And I have more books from Straczynski, from Garth Ennis, Peter Milligan, and more to come. We'll be announcing very soon.
Cool. See, now I want to see like an American Ronin Bad Mother crossover, like just based off of the description.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Yeah, I want to see her deal with zombies.
Let's go there. I'm ready. Ready, willing, and able.
Cool.
So that's the beauty of comic books. You can do that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. So, hey guys, thank you very much for hanging out with me and talking about all things AWA. It's been an education. I also just found out that ACO is how you say his name, not Akko, which is what I've been saying forever.
Yeah. No, we did the same thing. Yeah.
But definitely check out Bad Mother, you guys. It's hitting comic shops. It's in comic shops now, actually. And follow
sold out the first day. Yeah.
Sold out the first printing, right? And on top of that, there will be a trade paperback coming in November, October. Is that right?
The first run of trade paperbacks is in October, and it's 5 books: Resistance, Hotel, Archangel 8, Year Zero, and Red Border. The next round, which is I think February, February is going to be Bad Mother and a bunch of other books. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, guys. Yeah. So you have no excuse. Hit up your local comic shop. Be sure to keep an eye on all these titles from AWA. I want to thank Christa Faust. Thank you very much. Mike Deodato Jr. Thank you very much. Axel Alonso. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. And hey, guys, keep following Metaverse. Keep tuning in because there's going to be some more great panels coming down the line. So check it out.
Great, fantastic.
Thank you.